Hi, this is your host, and today's question is, what happened to Madeleine McCann? First, a quick introduction to Praia da Luz. This is a small village in the Algarve region of Portugal. It's known for its beautiful beaches, making it a very popular tourist destination. It was here in 2007 that 3-year-old Madeleine McCann went missing. Now, it's important to state that despite what you may have read or seen in the media, Maddie never actually lived in Praia da Luz. Her family were holiday makers who rented a villa in the resort for their vacation. May 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann, along with their twins Sean and Amelie, had been holidaying in the Algarve region of Portugal for about 2 weeks. They stayed in an apartment in the coastal town of Albufeira for the first part of their holiday, before moving to the private ocean club resort near Praia da Luz. On May, they would check into the holiday home known as La 5A. It was one of 17 holiday homes in the complex, all of which were owned by the same British couple. This particular one had 4 bedrooms and was a short walk away from the beach. The McCanns decided to stay here for 2 weeks. Also staying at the Ocean Club around that time were friends of the McCanns, Jane and David Payne, who had 2 children, also aged 3, named Oliver and Emily. The McCanns and the Paynes' holiday homes were close to each other, and the families spent most of their time together during the vacation. On the evening of May, Kate and Jerry took the twins to a local Indian restaurant while their friend Jane looked after Maddie. They sat down to eat, but left after 20 minutes because Maddie hadn't settled well and became sick. So Jane returned her to the holiday home, where she fell asleep on the sofa in the living room. At around 8:30 p.m., the McCanns returned from the restaurant, parked in the nearby car park, and walked back to their holiday home. When they arrived, they found that Maddie was still asleep on the sofa. She must have slept there for over an hour because the parents were concerned when they couldn't wake her up. So they decided to leave her sleeping until the next morning. The couple briefly considered waking her up so they could take her to bed, but ultimately thought it would be better to let her sleep and deal with any tantrums later. As always, they closed the patio doors and locked them from the inside before going to dinner with the other couple. A few hours later, at 11:30 p.m., Kate checked back on Maddie and she was still fast asleep. Both parents agreed to return at midnight to check on her again. However, at around 11:45 p.m., Kate returned to the house alone to check on Maddie. When she walked through the patio doors, she found the girl was still asleep, but the patio doors were open and Maddie was gone. The mother immediately screamed for Jerry and called out for their daughter. When he came running, both parents began to look for her around the property. There was no sign of the little girl anywhere. They tried calling the other couple, but they didn't answer their phone. Eventually, they managed to raise Jane and she ran over to help them search for Maddie. Still, there was no sign of the missing child. Kate called the police and reported her missing. The officers arrived quickly, but the holiday home was in total darkness. They couldn't enter without a key. Thankfully, Jerry managed to find the key and officers were able to enter. They began searching the property and even used thermal imaging cameras, but there was no sign of Maddie. It was now 1:15 a.m. and the police were becoming increasingly concerned because the longer she was missing, the less likely it was that they would find her alive. One of the officers decided to climb onto the roof of the holiday home, but soon came back down again saying there was nothing up there. He did notice, though, that the roof tiles were loose and that it was possible someone could have climbed onto the roof, using them as stepping stones. A neighbor also told the police that they had seen someone on the roof earlier that evening. Sadly, when the police asked if these people were staying at any of the holiday homes, they said that they weren't. By 10 a.m., the entire village had been searched, including every holiday home, but there was still no sign of Maddie. After several more hours of searching, she was officially declared missing and the police launched a huge investigation. Media attention immediately focused on the McCanns, who were questioned several times over the course of the following week. They were treated as suspects, although they weren't formally named as arguidos or official suspects in the case. Until September 2007, some members of the press claimed that the McCanns had killed their daughter and then put her body in a rubbish bin. However, the police never charged the couple and they were finally cleared as suspects in July 2008. The Attorney General said that they had no direct evidence linking the McCanns to their daughter's disappearance, stating, "The only link to the parents is that they are the parents." Despite being cleared as suspects in the case, the McCanns were still seen as guilty by much of the Portuguese media and the general public. Even 7 years later, when the investigation was moved to the United Kingdom, the McCanns were still widely blamed for their daughter's disappearance. The case remains open, and as recently as November 2021, German prosecutors announced that Christian Bruckner, a 43-year-old convicted sex offender, was a formal suspect in the case. He is already serving a 7-year prison sentence for the rape of a 72-year-old woman in the same region of Portugal in 2005. His criminal record includes offenses against children, and police believe that he may have been involved in Maddie's disappearance. What makes this case especially strange is that there were quite a few strange happenings that can be explained. For example, one of the prime investigators in the case, Inspector Olegario Souza, was removed from the investigation just days after Maddie vanished. He had many theories about what happened to her and was certain that she wasn't kidnapped, but his bosses disagreed and they removed him from the case and transferred him to another department. He was never supposed to speak about his theories publicly, but he wrote a book in 2015 revealing what he really thought happened to Maddie. According to Souza, the little girl was accidentally strangled by a member of her family. Whoever found her then panicked and hid her body, leaving it to be discovered later by a group of dogs. Unfortunately, the dogs dragged the body away and it was never recovered. In 2008, Jose Maria Offlader, the head of the judicial police in the Algarve, also came forward with some shocking claims. He stated that it was unlikely that Maddie was kidnapped because the family had left the door to their holiday home unlocked and the patio doors only closed, but not locked. In addition to that, nobody had disturbed the bed or checked on the children during the night. If the kidnapper had come in through the patio door, it was unlikely that they would have left the bed undisturbed. Therefore, Offlader believed that Maddie's parents had something to do with her disappearance. Despite these claims, however, neither the police nor the media were able to find any evidence supporting his theory. Another unexplained event happened in 2014 when documents from the Maddie investigation were leaked to the press. These included witness statements, autopsy reports, and DNA analysis results. Some journalists were shocked to discover that DNA belonging to 2 men was found on Maddie's blanket, suggesting that she had been the victim of a violent crime. Others were shocked to learn that her body hadn't been found and that she was still missing. Even more shocking was that the blanket containing the DNA had been washed several times. This led many to wonder why. Was it to remove the DNA of the perpetrator? And what about the man who was supposedly on the roof? Why did he leave the patio door open if he intended to kidnap Maddie? And why did he never return to finish the job? Considering all of this, there are many unsolved questions surrounding this case. Despite the fact that Maddie has been missing for over 14 years, her parents refuse to give up hope. They continue to fight for justice for their daughter and are determined to find out what really happened to her. Thousands of people worldwide continue to support the McCanns and their quest for answers. The recent focus on Christian Bruckner has given them renewed hope that they will finally get the answers that they've been looking for all these years. But what do you think happened to Maddie? Do you think she's still alive? Or do you think that she was murdered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share. I'd appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Bye.